So I grew up in New York City, and this story takes place in October 2002. I was a student at the Bronx High School of Science. Very nerdy school. It produced 9 Nobel Prize winners, which the school is very proud of. It also produced me. And I was a good student. I was taking like 9 AP classes, and I was trying to get into good colleges, and I was at the top of most of my classes. But there was something inside me. I wanted to break free. I wanted to rebel. I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to be an activist. But my parents also had very high expectations of me. So if I got in trouble, it couldn't be for some ordinary thing. It had to be for some next level thing. And the bar was not that high at my school because either you had the uber nerds or you had the slackers who cut classes and got high at the Harris Field across the street. So I decided to lead a rebellion to overthrow my principal. Now, this is when the Iraq War was also about to start, and a lot of people were concerned about that. You know, as a Muslim American, it was something that was upsetting for me as well, so I decided to make it a 2-in-1 rebellion to not only overthrow my principal, but stop the war in Iraq. Now, because I was a nerd, I didn't really have that many friends, and this was before social networking. I made a flyer, and it had a picture of George Bush, and it had a picture of my high school principal right next to each other. And it said, "Stop Bush's war in Iraq. Stop Principal Reidy's war on Bronx science." Now, 2 for 1, why not? You know, get the most out of it. Now, I was a good kid, remember, right? So I wasn't like, I didn't know how to organize. I didn't even know what that word meant. So I went to the woman who ran our student activities, and I gave her the flyer. I said, "Can you please stamp this so I can post it on the flyer board?" She looked at the flyer. She gasped. She's like, "Oh, Dios mío, Hamdan." She looked at the calendar. She's like, "It's not April 1st. What's going on? Is this like has the universe upended?" And I said, "No, I'm serious. I want to post this." She says, "Listen, I can't even deal with this. Go talk to the assistant principal if you want to post this." She didn't think I would go to the assistant principal because I did. I gave her the flyer. Now this woman, Miss Scott, very serious, very, kept a straight face. She said, "Oh, you'd like to post this? Let me get my stamp." She pulls out a big magic marker. She scrawls all over it, "Permission denied, may not be posted, Miss Scott." Now she made a mistake. She gave that piece of paper back to me. Because I then went to the copy machine and I made 100 copies and I started posting them all over the school. The security guard comes up to me. He looks at the picture of George Bush and the picture of the principal. He's like, "What are you doing? You have to give me those flyers." I watched a lot of C-SPAN. This was after 9/11 Patriot Act. I said, "I'm sorry, do you have a warrant?" I said, "This is my property. I paid for these photocopies. I have the receipt from the copy machine." No, I didn't. They send a dean to me. They're like, "We're going to need those flyers. This is unauthorized literature. We're going to need to confiscate it." I said, "Listen, I'm sorry. I have to go to AP Calculus." They call me in AP Calculus. They bring me down to the principal's office, and they give me a letter. They say the principal is convening an emergency suspension hearing because you have distributed unauthorized literature. And they call my parents. My parents come to school. They leave work. They come to school. They take the train. They are not happy. They're like, "What are you doing?" I said, "You always told me to be the best at whatever I did. No one has ever gotten suspended for trying to overthrow the principal and end the war in Iraq. It's a 2 for 1. They were not amused. We went home. But again, I watched a lot of C-SPAN. So the next day I called the ACLU. I left them a long voicemail. I was 15 years old before puberty. I was like, "Hi, I'm a student at the Bronx High School of Science. My principal wants to kick me out. I just had a flyer." They don't call me back, but I am persistent. I show up at their office the next day. It's on Broad Street. I took the 1 train down after school. I walked in with my little backpack. I tell the young woman my story, and her mouth is hanging open because they have never had a 15-year-old walk in with a flyer and a picture of George Bush and their principal. She says, "Wait right here, wait right here." Lawyers come out. Everyone's like, "Wait right here, wait here." Within 15 minutes, I'm sitting before the executive director of the New York chapter of the ACLU. This is the same woman who I see on C-SPAN every day suing John Ashcroft. And by the end of that meeting, they have a 20-page letter to the General Counsel of the New York City Board of Education telling them not to suspend me, telling them if they do suspend me, they're going to get sued, and telling them that I have rights and students have rights. My parents find out, they come to the ACLU, they have to sign some forms. Their first reaction, and I had been waiting so long for this, they say, how much are these lawyers going to charge us? We just refinanced the mortgage. What are you doing to us? But in the end, it took about a month. The school ended up dropping all the charges. I was fully vindicated. And when I look back at that story in hindsight, to be honest, let's be honest, I did not stop the war in Iraq. I did not succeed in overthrowing my principal. She stayed on for another 15 years. She just retired last year. But I was able to realize that I could launch a one-man romantic rebellion and leave standing at the end of it and have a story to share with you all. Thank you very much. My name is Hamdan Azhar.